So the digital tool that I'm going to be talking to you guys about today is Screencastify. This is a tool that can be used in the classroom to help enhance the learning environment for students. It's a tool that I've heard of in the past, but I've never really seen it being used in the classroom. So I thought it would be something that would be interesting to kind of explore a little bit more. So basically what Screencastify is it's a way that you can record your screen like I'm doing right now, or you could kind of flip it and you could have a webcam version instead. So you can do webcam or you could do your desktop. You could also do just a tab or a browser tab, which I think is pretty neat. If I scroll down here, let's see. There's this is a website for Screencastify. There's a bunch of different resources on this website that can help me and help you kind of learn a little bit more about it. So what I was kind of doing as I was learning about it was clicking through, and they give a lot of information here. So there's user guides, different articles to help you kind of figure out how to use it. If there's any problems, there's articles that'll help you, and then just general questions and answers that people have had. So as I was using Screencastify or learning how to use it, I realized it could really just be installed super fast through Google, and it's now an extension that I have on my laptop, so it's up here, so that I'll always have it there and can start recording my screen at any time. As I was playing around with it, I also noticed that there's these icons kind of at the bottom of the screen that could be used to kind of enhance and make the viewer have a better and more clear understanding of what I might be talking about as I'm recording. So I figured out here that you can actually draw. You can, if there's something I really want someone to see or something I don't want them to look at, I can write on there, and then I can always delete that. I was using this tool earlier as well, where it's kind of like a spotlight. So if there's something that I want the viewer to see more clearly, or if I'm kind of reading something and I want them to follow along, I could use this spotlight tool. It also tells me how much time is going by here. So it says like about a little over 2 minutes is how long I've been talking. So that's also very, very helpful. As I was also going through some of these things, there's like a for school drop down menu. And when I clicked on it, one of the things that it brought me to was a PDF of a book called 50 Ways to Use Screencastify in the Classroom. These are ideas that were kind of compiled by several different authors in order to help teachers kind of figure out how it can best be used. So I'm going to scroll down to the table of contents. There's some general ones that can be used for any subject in the classroom, and then it kind of goes into more in-depth of the different subjects and what they can be used for. So I'm just going to pick a couple different pages and kind of talk about how these things can be used. This first one I really liked. This could really be used to help with flipping the classroom. This could be used so I could record myself to introduce a concept, or I could have a student create a screencast about a lesson, or even talking about what they learned, or to even teach each other. So I thought that was pretty cool. And as I'm going through these, you're going to notice that it says who's on the screen, so like who is doing the recording, and it's checkmarked that both a teacher and a student could do a lesson video. Same thing with like a PowerPoint. A student can narrate the slides. If I'm giving directions, and instead of it just being written, and it's better if it's verbal and written, I could just record my voice as I'm kind of going through those directions for students and have them on the screen. It could be great to review routines later on in the year, or even to introduce routines. I liked this one as well, where you could have a virtual exit slip. So instead of students submitting their exit slips, like in person, putting it in a turn-in bin, they can just kind of record what they're writing on their computer or verbally talk about what they learned to have a more candid, to be more candid about their experience in class. It's also really good for giving feedback to students. So I think sometimes this is, or most times this is pretty difficult to do because I have 95 students and giving each one personal feedback can take a lot of time, and there's really no way I could talk to each one in person about one project or one worksheet that they completed. So when giving students feedback, I could give it verbally, and it could be something that they could save and go back to, and they'll really feel like they're being coached through it and to hear what they did well and what they can also work on. Let me find at least two more. So this one I really liked, the idea of creating sub lessons using Screencastify. Our new science resource can be pretty difficult for a sub to navigate. So what I was thinking would be a good idea is if I could just record the lesson using Screencastify, and all I would have to do would be to check out a laptop for that sub, and then the sub could play it on the screen so that the sub would have a better understanding of what they needed to do with the students, and the students would hear it from me, which it's a little bit more consistent than having the sub kind of go through it. So I think this is something that I'm really going to try to use with my students in my classroom this year and in the future. I think there was one more that I wanted to talk about, and that was the virtual museum trip. So with school, it would be great to take kids on field trips throughout the year to see things that are related to each unit. But at our school, we only have 2 field trips throughout the year. So what could be very useful is finding videos of different places that are related to the content and kind of going through and talking about what they would see as if they were there. I think this would bring a lot of engagement, and it would make learning much more meaningful. So in total, there are 50 pages on this PDF resource, and they're all very useful. And I know this is something that I'm going to be saving onto my computer. But if there are other resources that you want to check out as well, if you just go to that Screencastify website, there's tons of different things like how to use it with Google Apps, webinars, how to master it, and then it's also where the free book download is as well. So I appreciate you listening to my Screencastify about Screencastify, and I really look forward to using it and learning a little bit more about it this year.